Hello and welcome to the Curiosity and Consciousness podcast. The intention of this podcast is to open your mind, get curious about yourself and connect to the power you hold within. I am your host, Karen Maloney, an inside-out coach, helping you to believe in yourself and manifest your desires. Check out the podcast, available on all platforms, and go to my website, www.karenmaloney.com for all info. Hello everybody. Welcome back. Happy Thursday. It's me, Karen Maloney. Hope you're all doing well. And this week I just have a short episode explaining a new direction that the podcast is going in for a little bit. I'm not sure how many episodes exactly, but for the next couple of weeks anyway, maybe a couple of months, I'm going to be focusing specifically on cancer and having conversations around cancer with lots of different practitioners who offer different modalities and protocols and treatments, and experienced practitioners who have been working in this space for a long time. And the intention with these conversations is not to diagnose or provide treatment options or to tell people what they should do. The intention is to just expand the conversation, learn more about what is happening in the body, learn more about the incredible intelligence and self-healing capabilities the body has when we work with it as well and support ourselves. This is also not pushing any agenda, whether you go conventional, alternative, complementary. Again, the idea is to share lots of different information, lots of different conversations around different modalities, tools, tips, advice, that if a person wishes to be curious and explore for themselves how that may benefit them, well then that is each person's own choice. But really, more than anything, for me, it's about taking some of the fear out of the word. We've all been touched by cancer. When anyone is diagnosed, it ripples throughout communities and it brings so much fear and uncertainty. And I think it's really a loaded word anyone can say. And living in fear is never good, no matter what we're facing in life. So if we can get some new information or get some new will or mindset or perspective on what might be happening, and if that can help shift some of that fear, that's always going to be beneficial. And the reason as well I decided to take this direction is, well, first of all, I lost my dad 12 years ago to cancer. And, initially after seeing his journey, I was absolutely terrified by the word. I saw how a diagnosis affects a person, a family, a community. I saw the fear and the panic that comes with that diagnosis. And I also saw my dad fade away and whittled down to nothing, essentially. And when that diagnosis first came, he really wanted to look at different options and think outside the box. And I remember one day he mentioned to me how he'd heard about carrot juice and how it can be really good for a person. But again, after that initial diagnosis comes, there's so much fear and panic and act now. And he went the radiation, surgery, chemo route. But what I've learned as well since is he could have done his carrot juice or anything else that called him outside of the conventional treatment, but we didn't have the information at the time, and he had other complications from his surgery that kind of took precedence. So anyway, I, like that, had major fear, and I said if I ever got the C word, I wouldn't even try. And that was my idea, and I was quite happy with that. I thought if it ever happened to me, I wouldn't even try. I'd just give up, and that was fine with me, because I had so much fear, and especially after seeing my dad's journey. Then eventually, anyway, I went on my own learning journey. I took it upon myself to learn more about cancer and what was happening in the body. And that led me to learning more about the body, learning how much time it actually takes for a tumour to show up in the body, learning that we all have cancer cells. So what makes some people's develop into a disease and tumour, or what causes some cancer cells to lose the ability to die off, apoptosis, which is the natural ability of our cells to self-mutilate. But cancer cells don't do that. They've lost that ability. And I also learned about so many different modalities, therapies, treatments, and I listened to so many people's stories, books of how they overcame it, what they did, the changes they made in their life to support themselves through this phase. And let me tell you, when I first started learning about some of these modalities and therapies and learning about the body and, how so many things can support us, and especially diet and nutrition and nutrients and all these kind of things and thoughts and emotions, I thought it was all a load of airy-fairy and codswallop. I thought it was a bit insane because it wasn't spoken about and because I had too much fear to see beyond it. But actually, the deeper I went in my learning and the deeper I've gone on my own personal journey as an inside-out coach in my own inner transformation, the more it makes total and absolute, utter sense. So, if you're there as well, that's totally fine. That's totally normal. I can still consider myself a big skeptic, but I'm curious enough to know that I might be wrong about what I currently know. So what ended up happening is that fear being gone. I don't believe it just comes out of the sky. And that's not to say it's anybody's fault, but I believe there is so much unconscious that we hold within us. And there are so many different factors to a disease like cancer. It is absolutely multifaceted and complex for sure. And that's why a one-size-fit-all approach, I don't believe, is the best, because everyone has their own personal history, traumas, pains, suppressed emotions, and their environment, their lifestyle, toxins. Each person is so individual in their makeup. But now I don't believe that it is this thing to be so fearful and panicked about, and this automatic death sentence stigma that often comes with it. That's what has completely changed for me and shifted. And if that can support someone else to remove some of that fear, that's just going to be beneficial, whether it's you going through the experience or whether it's someone close to you. When we remove that fear for ourselves, we can be there for others in a different way and not project our own fears onto them. So this is the direction the podcast is going to be going. And again, it came about from really just feeling so helpless in one sense, because I've had some close friends diagnosed and I just feel really helpless to support, but also from the place of I can't sit idle anymore, knowing what I know. And I'm not saying I'm a doctor, I'm an expert, nothing of the sorts, but from having learned so much myself and knowing what I know, I can't just keep this to myself anymore. I can't keep feeding into such an intense fear story when there are other possibilities. And again, it's multifaceted, it's complex. There is so much fear and stigma, but again, we can change it, just like I've changed it for myself. So that's the reason. And whether anyone listens or not, that's totally fine. I'm not here to push my opinions or anyone else's opinions on anyone. We're all free to learn and make our own decisions and meanings of situations. But from how my perspective has totally evolved around cancer, I think it's worthwhile. And also, hopefully in some of the conversations, we'll be able to touch as well how people around a person going through cancer can maybe best support, whether it's a close family or friend or just in the community. Because the last thing that person needs is more fear, is more judgments and shock from others around them. They already know it's scary. They already know what they're going through. They already know what they're facing. So they don't need the outside piece as well. Support, yes. Love, yes. But more fear and shock and worry, no. We don't know what to do. We sympathize because we do literally ache for them. But we need to ask ourselves as well, sometimes, is that the best way to support? So hopefully we can look at that as well in these conversations, because it's not easy to know what to do. And this information as well, although it's cancer focused, it's applicable to all of us, because there's not a single person, I don't believe, who hasn't been touched in some way by it. But also, because it is a chronic lifestyle issue, the information being shared by each of the wonderful practitioners that I'm connecting with is applicable to all of us. And doing things preventatively before something shows up, even if we feel amazing, even if we think we have no issues, taking the time to make yourself a priority as well. So the information is applicable to all of us in one sense, but obviously is more specifically cancer focused. So I hope you join me on this journey, or join us with all the wonderful people I am connecting with. I am piecing it together now, so I might take a break for a week or two in between episodes as I collate this information and have it all in one place. And if you know of any modalities or any incredible practitioners working in this space, feel free to send me an email with the information and I will do some research and reach out. Or if you know someone who has overcome cancer in their life or is thriving with cancer and they have a powerful story to share, please also share their information as well. This is a joint effort, and you can email those to support@KarenMaloney.com. So I'm excited to delve into this space for a couple of episodes, and I'd be lying if I didn't feel a little bit apprehensive, because I know what a triggering word it is. I know how the information can seem jarring at times. It's not my intention to trigger anyone, but the way I look at my triggers, I'm constantly still triggered. I use them as teachers to help me learn something more about myself, to see what it is that I'm holding within that is causing this strong emotional reaction that maybe doesn't serve me or it's outdated. I often have to grow through my triggers and my uncomfortableness to be willing to even take in a new perspective or to see something in a different light. So if that happens to you, I'm with you. Again, it's not my intention. And let me tell you, when I first started on this journey, I thought a lot of the information was airy-fairy, and I was a big skeptic, and I still am a skeptic. I try things out for myself, but the deeper I've gone on my path and my personal journey, just my inner journey and my inner transformation and my work as an inside-out coach, the more it all makes sense. And for anyone going through treatment or cancer at the moment, I'm sending lots of love. I'm sending lots of love to everyone who may have lost someone from cancer. And I'm sending lots of love to anyone who's just going through that initial phase of shock and fear and panic with the diagnosis. I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to connecting with some incredible people and having some empowering conversations, because that's what it's all about as well, to inform, expand, educate, empower, if that's an option for you. So again, if you have any suggestions, send me an email, support@KarenMaloney.com, and we will speak soon. Bye. Thanks for listening. And before you go, I would love to ask you a massive favor. If you enjoyed this episode or any episode of the podcast, I would love for you to leave a short review on Apple Podcasts to help it grow. If you could do that, I would greatly appreciate it.